Welcome to episode 16 of the Foyne Jones Show. We're inspiring our stars of the future, and we've got the newest member of Team Foyne Jones joining myself and Charlie in the studio, Jodi Gormley. She's going to tell us her story, where it began, what she's doing now, and hopefully what she's going to achieve in the future. You're going to enjoy this episode. Oh, Jodi, you look so nervous. Don't be nervous. Welcome to episode 16 of the Foyne Jones Show. We're on season 6. We're inspiring our stars of the future. Hula's in the studio. How you doing, producer Charlie?
I'm good, mate. I'm happy to be here as always.
I'm confused, mate. The world is going to Somerset this week. The world is gathering at Worthy Farm for a little festival. You've gone the other way. Did you notice the traffic going in the other direction?
Yeah, I've gone against the grain once again. I was there the week before doing our own little festival with where my own uncle lives.
We'll talk about that at some point in the show, because I'm learning that most of the guests are more interested in you than they are in me, and most of the guests want to hear about Charlie's music career, his production career, and his podcasting career. So we'll definitely bring that in, because that in itself should inspire our stars of the future. But sitting in the studio today, we've got a member of Team Foyne Jones, the newest member of Team Foyne Jones. Jodi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Podcast debut.
Yep.
Podcast debut. And you're following in your son Finn's footsteps.
Yes, he beat me to it.
Finn beat you to it because he nicked in here on a week's work experience. Did he have fun at Foyne Jones?
Yes, I think he did.
I think he told me what to do for quite a bit. He's a bit of a character.
Quite assertive.
I think that's good. I think he reminds me of my children at that age, and a little bit of swagger is not a bad thing. So in today's episode, listeners, we are going to give Jodi a podcast welcome to Team Foyne Jones. We'll talk about her career before Foyne Jones. We'll talk about taking those first steps into recruitment, how you're finding it. For the record, you're doing a really good job. So whatever you're doing well. We're going to give some advice to job seekers. And we'll talk about your experience working with candidates and job seekers so far. What examples of good behaviour, examples of bad behaviour, examples of could do better behaviour. So I think that's all relevant. Then we're going to talk about work-life balance. You know, what you do to chill out, what you do to keep that momentum in the right place. Build on flexible workings. That's a message to any employer. And we'll wrap up talking about the future. And yes, Charlie, we'll throw some football banter in somewhere, even though it's close season. There's been a little bit going on. Your boy got a hat-trick for Arsenal. Your Arsenal boy got a hat-trick for England the other night, didn't he?
Too right, he did. My star boy.
Yeah.
At it again.
Yeah, I mean, the two fixtures against Malta and Macedonia. I mean, you'd like to think we put a few in. It does corrupt the old goal scoring charts, doesn't it? When you got them sort of games, you're like, I'm going to fill my boots. But welcome to the show. So we don't have a show without our sponsors. So MHK Holding UK and the one and only Marcel Creasy. Thank you to you, sir. In this episode, we're going to get to know Jodi. But let's just go back to your week in Somerset, Charlie. Did you have fun?
I had an absolutely amazing time. It was great to be down there, getting everything set up. So the context of this is, for the listeners, is my aunt and uncle's 20th wedding anniversary. They were 20 years ago this weekend. They got married down there in Somerset. And my uncle's a great musician. And there was a lot of music there at the time. And then it became like a yearly thing for a long time until, around COVID, basically. And then we've not had a party there like that for 5 years. And as I've been growing up with it, it's obviously been a very important part of my life. But this year I've sort of come to the age where I've started really helping mucking in and getting everything set up and contributing up to the organising and running the music tent. And it was a great time. It was a coming of age moment for me, and I really enjoyed every second of it.
Fair play, mate. Welcome back to reality.
Yes, too right.
Welcome back to reality.
I come back with good energy.
He sent me a text, Jodi, saying, I'm just editing the latest episode, but I've brought the wrong file or I've done something wrong. It's okay, mate. It'll all be okay. I've got faith, and we'll get it done. And that's part of the game, is to actually be really positive and approach every little challenge in the right way. So, Charlie, welcome back to the studio, mate. Welcome back to the Foyne Jones Show. This is the first episode in the 6 seasons we've been running this podcast. podcast, other than the lockdown episodes, survival specials, which were before your time. That was a podcast of the past. That was a distance memory that I've recorded in flip flops. So for the benefit of our listeners who won't be able to see this if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, I've rocked up in a pair of flip flops to make it a real cosy environment. Jodi, in contrast, you look professional, you look smart, you look on point. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
All right. I bet if someone had said to you in January, when you were doing your previous job, that come the middle of June, or where we are, come the summer solstice on the 21st of June, you'll be sitting in a podcast studio in Trendy Plus X in Brighton, talking about your career, talking about what the changes you've been through. You would have said they start raving bonkers, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I didn't think that I would have made the change to leave where I was before. So yeah, it's massive for me. So.
Yeah, and again, we will come into that, but you've got a growing fan base of followers on LinkedIn. You've built that from a standing start, and you're kind of getting a real feel for what we're about at Foy & Jones with our recruitment piece, with our content piece, our storytelling piece. But I think what we can use this episode to do is tell the Jodi story, tell the Jodi Gormley story. So you're local to Sussex, aren't you?
Yep.
But not originally from South East London, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so talk to me about what you were doing before Foy & Jones, because you was with one employer for a long time.
Yeah, so I was with Howdens. I started with them 17 years ago. There was a break for 2 years when I had my son, and the position that I left to come to Foy & Jones was kitchen designer, which I'd been doing for 5 years. So I enjoyed that very much, working with both tradesmen and the end users, the clients, customers. So yeah, it was very full on. The hours, quite long hours, felt like I wasn't, sometimes I felt like my family time and the work-life balance wasn't there. But a very enjoyable job. I did like meeting a lot of people, speaking to, different people. And
you worked at different Howdens branches as well, didn't you?
Yeah, 2 different ones. But I was there at Lewis, at that depot for most... Hang on, that was for the majority time was spent there. And
you're from Lewis as well. I mean, Lewis is where you grew up, isn't it?
Yeah. So from early, probably when I was 6 or 7 is when we moved from London. So a lot of my childhood was spent in Sussex.
So you DFL like me?
No.
Okay.
I don't count.
I don't count myself, Charlie, as a DFL. I feel I'm an adopted son of Sussex. To be fair, I'm not Sussex Tourist Board, but we did that. We moved from Fulham, West London, to Lewis when my eldest started secondary school, and we've stayed in Sussex ever since. So no, I get that. But different. You did different roles during your time at Howdens, didn't you? So you was a designer, but did you do something else as well?
I started off as a sales rep, which was very different 17 years ago to what it is now. So you
started as a sales rep?
Yeah.
Fair play.
So it was very different then, and the targets weren't as... It was more just go out and meet people, have a drive around almost, and be that friendly local rep that's, get you what you need.
So we have a lot of reps that listen to the show, and I always tell some of my stories of when I was a young rep and when I first went out on the road, and I think you've got to have something about you to get out of the car. And I did this in a very pre-mobile phone age or early mobile phone age, so it was the gathering names, gathering information, but. I'd imagine, you rocking out of the car, early work years, calling on the local builder, developer, whatever. Was that fun?
Yeah, I always enjoyed it, and I would put a twist on it. I'd do something different. So
twist.
Well, I wouldn't just kind of go and speak to, like in the summer, I'd take an ice box, cold drinks, in the winter, pack of donuts and bribe them, really. No, but it was good to... You'd pop in and see your regulars, so if they wanted anything, but there was also the opportunities constantly to try and generate new accounts as well. So it was just maximising that option, the chance to do that. So, yeah, it was just always coming up with different ideas, really. So, and after repping, that's when I had my son, and I went back after that part-time. That's when I was doing the business development. So a lot of calls to... Mainly the established customers, but it was also some prospecting new customers if we saw any, if there was anyone that we could potentially open up a new account. I've also worked on the counter, and then I went back to repping, and then it eventually got to design, be a designer, which was my dream, what I wanted to.
Did you do the deliveries and sweep up and clean the branch as well? Do you know what I mean? It's a full house.
I did when it was stock take or particularly busy.
Oh, I still hate stock take. I mean, stock take still makes me come out in a rash,
Yeah, it's not fun.
As a rep, the strokes I used to pull to try and get out of stock take, it was like, what do you mean a Saturday? I'm a sales rep. I don't do Saturdays. With love to my old employers, they probably knew I was trying to pull. I didn't get away with it often, to be fair. I remember once I was looking after 3 branches and I tried to tell them all that I was doing the stock take in each branch, and then they spoke to each other and I crashed and burned on that one completely.
No way of getting out of it.
Yeah, no, there isn't no way of getting out of it. But if you talk about from a recruitment perspective now, being a sales rep is a baptism of fire, because you're dealing with a customer on their ground. You're customer facing. You're dealing with the hearts and minds. You're dealing with the highs and lows. If you're a sales rep, when you go and see a customer, they forget the 99 things Howdens have got right, or any business have got right, and they talk to you about the one thing you've got wrong.
Yeah.
So you've got to deal with that
face to face.
Yeah, you've got to deal with that, and you can see the emotion.
Not just on the phone.
It's a challenge, and I find that some of my happiest memories were repping. I loved the job. I did South East London, South West London, because they're postcodes that are close to my heart. It was so much fun, but not without its challenges at all. Not without its challenges. But then spinning that from a outbound outreach business development perspective, that's unforgiving, making call after call after call, and you're desperate for someone to engage and build relationships. So relationship building must have been a big part of both those jobs for you.
Yes, and that then served me for when I moved into the kitchen designer role. So I went from rep, and I had a very good year, set up a lot of accounts. Then moving into that, they would then want to use me because we'd already built up the relationship. So as designer, there's things that the tradesperson wants you to pick up. And obviously it took a bit of time, a bit of training, but when you're in that room, and then you work closely with them on the installation side of it, working closely with the customer on what they want. So you're juggling quite a bit, but all of my experience then just really helped me once I got to that designer position. So.
And this stood out from our early conversations. You ripped it up a little bit doing design. You had some big numbers, didn't you?
Yeah, so
This is big, Charlie. She's very modest.
I didn't tell you till we'd met in person, so I just, But my sales a couple of years ago I hit 1.1 million. So for me, I realised that this was a possibility probably by May or June.
When does the whoop and dance start? Does it start at 998, or do you just wait for that last worktop and plinth to get it over the line?
But I not only was I going to set myself that target, but Howdens have their sale September, October time. And then when I realised how many leads I'd built up and, got them in line for the sale, then I remember sitting at home one night and I was writing them all down and the figures. And it dawned on me then that not only would I hit it by the end of the year, but I was going to hit it by the end of October. So that's why. And also, in that, in the construction industry, kitchens, it all kind of quietens down generally, like November, leading up to Christmas, December. So I wanted to know that I'd hit it and not just leaving it till the last minute. Yeah. So it was.
And one of the things that I find so amazing, like just hearing when you talk about your time and the longevities. How many years in total was it with Howdens?
So it was over a 17-year span, but about 15 years.
So that's a lifetime. 15 years is a lifetime. And you talk so passionately about the people you work with. I mean, the way you talk about your customers and the builders and the relationships, and that's captivating just to see, because it becomes part of your life, doesn't it? It becomes more than a job. But then to move into design and hit those numbers, I mean, it's quite obvious for the listeners, Charlie. You can get why she's going to be a real asset to Foyne Jones, because we recruit recruit designers, we recruit sales reps, we recruit people on the counter. We love recruiting business developers and showroom managers. We love the KBB industry from trade to high-end luxury, and we love the merchant and construction industry. So all of those sectors make it an obvious pathway into Foyne Jones. But you're quite unique in the way that you arrived here, because I always talk about doing something different, getting noticed, standing out in the market, and you was proactive. But you got a job here without the need of an A4 piece of paper called a CV. I mean, we didn't even need that, did we? So we'll come on to that element. But I think what would be a really good, and if you're happy to share it, Jodi, I know we spoke before the show, but I think what was really powerful in the conversations we've had is that, and one of the posts you put out about on LinkedIn, it was like, I nearly didn't pick up the phone, I nearly didn't go for it, I nearly didn't do something life-changing. Do you talk us through the emotions that led to that conversation we had, and you meeting Holly and I, and kind of just bringing it here, because that must have been like a real life-changing moment for you to sadly say, after X amount of years, I'm looking for something different, but not doing what so many people do of going, I'll do it next week, or I'll do it next year, or maybe I just won't bother. Something clicked, didn't it? Something changed.
It was, I remember, because it was a February half-term week, and I was off with Finn, and the time was going really quick. And I just thought, I'm going to be back. You know, I had this feeling that something had to change. So I just thought, what can I do? Because I've been with Howdens for so long. And I thought I wanted a complete change, so not just doing designing elsewhere. So I did actually write down what I wanted. So Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, flexible working. And then I found your job there. So I was like, it says ring Peter in the office. And I feel if it had been 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have been a bit shy, not picked up the phone. But I wasn't sure when the closing date was, so I thought, I'm going to ring him. And there I did. And then we set up our first
but be fair,
interview.
Be fair. The first time you rang, you spoke to Jack. Yeah, you know, I remember that. And Jack told me, and he said, and I didn't ring you back. And I knew I had to. And then you rang again, and I think you spoke to Holly. And I still didn't ring you back. And then I think the third time, I'm like, I really have to ring Jodi back. And I remember our first conversation, it was after work. And I was sitting, Charlie, outside New Haven train station. I was sitting outside New Haven train station, waiting for my son to give him a lift up the hill, all 5 minutes up the hill, you know, waiting to drop him home. And I remember talking to you, and I thought, like, wow, you know, you've not sent me a CV, you've not applied for the job, but you've done the one thing that's going to get my attention. You've kept calling, and you've made me want to ring you back. And that's impressive. That was impressive.
Yeah, I think. And I do remember I was sat in my car, I'd been out on an appointment and I hadn't heard back from you, so I thought, should I call him? And I thought, well, if you don't, you know, I thought, what if he might not have got the message, he might be really busy, just do it. So that's when I phoned, I think that was when I got through to you that time, and then we arranged to meet. And then it's making such a change from so many years somewhere. It just feels so alien as well.
But we were talking, and we liked you from meeting one. We liked you more meeting two. The girls liked you when they met you without me, because that was important, because I wanted you to get, you know, the highs and lows of working with me, Charlie. So I think that's important. And what I'm so proud of and so pleased of is that you saw enough in the Foyne Jones recruitment group to try something new after 15 years longevity with an employer. Doesn't matter who that employer is, but you know, there's a real risk and reward in life, and you've got to make things happen. And I'm so glad you did pick up the phone. And I think there's a message to all job seekers out there. Yes, you can hit apply. Yes, you can send a CV. Yes, you can do just enough. But tracking down the person whose business it is, tracking down the person who's going to make that decision and saying, hello, you know, give me some time. I want to talk to you. Bang, that stood out. And I mean, can you believe it's nearly 8 weeks?
No, I can't. And I do feel very fortunate that when I was doing that job search that I found you, and then it ticked all the boxes for me. So to meet you and the team was just great. And as soon as I was in, you know, the Foyne Jones office, I had such a good feel about it. It was
Charlie likes it. He hangs out with us, doesn't he?
I love it. I love coming down in New Haven.
Apparently, I get. What do you say? I get the balance right between being really nice and putting people under a little bit of pressure as well. He said, I get the balance okay.
Yeah.
But the problem, I think, what also helps you, and this is for anyone thinking about career in recruitment, it is such a results game. You know, you can be as nice, as stressed, as, you know, whatever. It's highs and lows, and they talk about the roller coaster. But genuinely, because you've worked in a target-driven arena and you've strived to hit the numbers of 1 million plus, or you've been a business developer desperate to get a lead, or you've been a rep desperate to open an account. And I mean those words, desperate, because actually that means everything to you when you're doing that job. That's the difference between having a good day or a bad day, someone talking to you. Having a good day or bad day, someone's filled in a form, you know, when they pass the credit check. You know, and I remember these days myself. You know, oh no. But because of that, I think it gives you a balance when you're looking at, okay, you know, so we've got to get people interested. We've got to generate interest, and we've got to look at the people who are interested to see how suitable they are. Charlie's throwing things at me, which does concern me. You know, he's definitely been on his holidays. That would never have happened normally, mate. But do you think that's helped? Because recruitment is like a thunderstorm. When you dip into it, you're like, whoa. Because from the outside, it can look quite glamorous, it can look quite boring, it can look this, it can look creative. We do it with our different flavour, you know, we do it with creativity, we do it with storytelling, we do it with passion. But I do believe being used to working to targets helps.
Yeah, certainly does. And also dealing with, you know, having to communicate. It's not just about speaking to one person, it's tying all the ends up, speaking to people, making sure everything goes, you know, and there's a lot of that from my career history and my experience that I think it's just
it comes naturally.
Something
it's one of the things. So I sometimes come in and I know there's things going on, and I'm like, right, I'm going to remind Jodi to that. You've done it. Or you're doing it, which is, I'm like, well, I don't need to say a word. My job is done, you know, and it's there. And yeah, I think there are times when you're like, wow, that didn't go as well as I expected, or that's gone better than I expected. But I think for someone who's 8 weeks in, you're doing an absolutely fantastic job. And having you part of the Team Foyne Jones for the short, medium, long term future is something that we're excited about. But more importantly, our clients should be excited about, our candidates should be excited about, because they're talking to someone who knows what it's like to design kitchens. They're talking to someone who knows what it's like to knock on the door and say, hello, I'm your local rep. They're talking to someone who's picked the phone up and had the phone put down. Yeah. You know, maybe someone's been a bit more brutal than that. And it's one of the things I try and do when a business development call comes in. If someone does it in the right way and they've done their homework, I give them time. Yeah. You know, I don't always buy, but I think it's important to at least try and do it. So, honestly, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. And I think that you've got an amazing future ahead. Charlie, that's the first half wrapped up for us. After the break, Jodi, we're going to talk about your football career and your football team, because you're not keeping that secret. We're going to talk about the benefits you're finding from flexible working. And we're going to give some advice to job seekers and the industry stars of the future. You up for that?
Yep.
Having fun still?
Yep.
Excellent. We'll see you after the break.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, are you ready? The digital revolution is no longer a spectator sport. It's game on. The magical art of storytelling is the future. Social, content, branding, podcasts, video marketing, and virtual 360 tours. This is Jones Digital.
Welcome back to episode 16 of the Foyne Jones Show. We've met Jodi, new member of Team Foyne Jones, someone who is already ripping up the rule book. But what we haven't dwelled on yet, we know you're a mum and Finn's been on the show, but we haven't spoke about my favourite subject away from my family and away from my business, which is football. I've got nothing about Fulham to really say at the moment. We haven't sold anyone, we haven't bought anyone, so it's kind of, you know, I think every club in the world is in interested in João Paulinho, but we haven't bought him. You lot are trying to buy Declan Rice at the moment, but you're going up in like single pounds, it seems like, with the bidding.
I know. I want it done, man. I want it so bad.
Well, so apparently, like, as soon as you give them the money, they want to spend it on João Paulinho, so you take your time. You take your time. But Jodi, you play football?
I did, yes.
Who'd you play for?
I first started playing when I was at primary school.
Yeah.
And then I played for a local team. I was left midfield.
Left midfield?
Yeah.
So left-handed and left-footed?
Yeah.
There you go.
And then I started to support Tottenham.
Sorry.
Charlie may edit that out, yeah.
I think that was purely because they were doing quite well at the time, and I was probably about 10. Not going to give away my age. But yeah, and then I think my dad supported them as well. So I was like, oh yeah, they'll do it. I'll just support them. Whereas you'll be pleased to know that now my focus is more on Brighton and Hove Albion because of Finn. So
I love that. Like Jodi feels Finn's pain, you know. So when it goes well,
joy.
When it goes well, it goes well. When it's sad, you know. And I remember when he was talking to me, but he went to the semi-final and, you know, all that, and I'm like, oh, the poor kid, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's a long old day to go and lose, you know, for that to happen and to be done how it did as well. But I think it's just football's there, and I think, and Finn plays for Ringmer, doesn't he? So my boys both play for Ringmer, and my youngest before he discovered he was a very good rugby player and cricket player, he played for a local team in Lewis Bridgeview, and I think they've got still photos of you up, haven't they, Jodi? Lewis Bridgeview, is that who you played for?
Yeah, so
there
probably.
You go. Yeah, there you go. So we used to sing Lewis Bridgeview. You are a word beginning with P quite often. So I used to say that to my boys. I was a very supportive father, you know. But they were great club, established a long time. Both clubs actually are local clubs run by volunteers that are doing really, really well.
They do a great job.
So do you enjoy being a football mum?
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed being a football mum?
Yeah, I do. I do like to go and watch him.
It takes a lot of your time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then there was some of the games that they had more like a couple of years ago now. It was a good hour or so in the wrong direction, you know, and it's cold and it's raining, it's windy, and they lose, and then you drive back again. But
I remember, like, Henry had a rugby game, and he was like he's in like Bognor, and Harry's got a football game in Hastings, and I'm like, right, I'm the only one that drive. Well, how are we going to do this? You know, and I remember the years of I coached. I've been a football parent, a rugby parent, a cricket parent, and I just remember how much you give into it. But it's worth every moment.
Yeah, and I've just got the one son, so with you kind of, you know, sharing it. And I know parents that they're at different ages, obviously, you know, and they've got one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. So I'm grateful that I generally did get, you know, at least one day where I didn't have to traipse across the south.
It is what it is, though. But I get it. Being a parent of a young footballer, it changes as every year they go up. Different challenges come, different pressures come. But I think it's just great. It's great to see and to be able to appreciate that, and to be able to do everything in your life. You've got to have, you know, that most desirable aspect that everyone wants in the world, which is a work-life balance.
Yeah.
All right. So coming away from football and talking about work-life balance, you need to be able to take Finn to football training. You know, you need to be there during half term. You need to be able to juggle that around. I know personally that you like your early mornings, you like your breathing exercises, you like the cold water therapy. So you've got all that going on as well. With a pressurised job, how do you find getting the balance right?
So, getting up early, I actually don't mind being up early, and you know, it's just getting in that routine. So, I love the summer months as well. So for me, it's been a case. It's so much easier to get up and get out, and now that my hours are different working for Foyne Jones, my previous position, some weeks I was doing 7:30 till 5. So for me, I couldn't get to the beach, walk the dogs, get to the beach, sort my son out and get to work. It just wasn't possible. So now I get to do that. And I remember I said to you last week, I was driving home from the beach to make sure Finn was up when I'd normally be getting ready to leave to start work. And every moment like that, I do really appreciate and feel grateful for. So, and yeah, or if I don't get to the beach, it's a cold shower, which I've built up over the last 6 months. I didn't just instantly love them, but now it's not a chore. It's something that I enjoy.
You've got into the sea recently as well. I think that was by peer pressure, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You've seen everyone else around you going in.
Yeah, I've been talking about it for long enough, and it was
you
time
spoke
to
about
start
it for
doing.
ages, yeah.
So I've got the dry robe, I've got the flask for my tea.
Oh, you got the full kit.
Got the socks. Neoprene socks. Yeah, so it was last week and I was so glad that I did get in. And even Finn got up with me. He told me he was going to set his alarm. He was going to get up at 6, so he come in.
And he loved it, didn't he?
Yeah, he moaned quite a bit, but afterwards he was like a different person getting ready for school. He was buzzing, so it's got a lot of benefits to do it.
Do you know what, Charlie, as well? Like, if you ever want any information on, like, jellyfish, what the tides are like, what's being let into the sea that shouldn't be let into the sea, Jodi's member of a WhatsApp group that tells you everything from Eastbourne to Brighton. My wife is now a member of that group. She's going, oh yeah, look, and I'm like, oh God, like, I'm getting it from Jodi, I'm getting it from Jana, but they're very knowledgeable in there, very supportive,
yeah, very
and
good.
it's like a real community, to be honest. Been in the sea lately, Hula?
Yeah, mate, I love it. I did a 10K the week before Somerset and then got in the sea as soon as I'd finished it. I absolutely love it.
It's good, isn't it? I mean, don't feel cold then,
No,
mate, is it?
nothing
Don't
better.
feel cold then. So we are going to... I'm desperately trying to put together, Jodi, you might better help me with this. I'm desperately trying to put together like a fundraiser where we do like it'd be at Seaford because it's a lovely location for us, but I'd love to do like a 5K walk stroke run followed by a swim stroke paddle. And invite all comers along. I don't know what we call it. We call it some kind of run and swim with Foyne Jones or Foyne Jones splash. I don't know, but I'm not going to try and call it a triathlon or anything like that because we won't be at that level. And we've had some guests here. You imagine some of them ripping up, like Dave would be doing his press ups, Josh from the Woodworks would be stretching, wouldn't he? I'm like, no, well, it's not a race. We're just going to get it done. But I would like to do something like that while the weather's good. That's something I think we should do.
Definitely.
But you spoke about flexible working as well, and we have across the KBB industry, across the builders merchant industry, across the construction industry, such an opportunity. If more businesses could embrace some degree of flexibility, we could open up a whole new talent pool. And that could be through working from home occasionally. It could be working from home all the time. It could be being more creative on hours. And I know that's a game changer in terms of shift pattern, but for me, and sometimes you've said to me like, well, can I just go? Like, yep, go, it's fine, it's okay. Just do whatever gets the result. That flexibility is easy for us to offer as a small business because we can manage it, we can keep it intact. But it makes a real difference to your job as well, doesn't it? Because being available after 5 when someone's finished work gives you access to talk to people. That flexibility, I know it was unusual for you, but you're starting to embrace it much better now and enjoy it, aren't you?
Oh yeah, the option to work from home it's great to have that option. So, I know that I could say to you, oh, I've got to take the dog to the vet, or Finn needs me this morning. Is it okay? And you can just you can continue to work. There's no restrictions there. And like you were saying with the flexibility to call people at different times, I know from when I was trying to get hold of you, it was when I was out on the road going to an appointment. And I thought and then you were very flexible, which was great. You said, no, come after 5, it's fine.
Yeah. But that's the perfect time to get me.
Yeah,
you've seen you've seen for the last 8 weeks how busy my days can be. They can be very manic, get all sorts of incoming. But if you get me at like the right time, perfect. And I'm getting better at creating those windows where people get me at the right time. One of the weaknesses I have is I always say yes, or have you got a moment? Yeah. Can I just ask something? Yeah. And I'm trying to learn more to say, not really, but let's talk at this time, or let's do this, because then you get more value out of conversations. I don't think I'll ever be able to change the instant yes, but being able as a business owner to say to you, yeah, go early. You know, it's important for you to do that. It's not a clocking in, clocking out exercise. It's getting results. I think it builds trust. I think it builds responsibility, and it cuts both ways, because there'll be times when I need you to do things which are, you know, it's going to put us under pressure, or it's going to be a bit tougher at times, and we work together. So I'm glad you're finding flexibility to benefit, and I think as well it's you know, I want the environment to be creative. I want it to be fun. I want us to be able to ride the pressure and ride the highs and lows, and seeing how you've embraced it, and I guess if it's enhanced your work-life balance and you're enjoying it, we're in a good place. We're in a very good place.
No, definitely. And when the laptop has been at home and I could just quickly check in with the candidate that had an interview, I wanted to know that was all going to run smoothly, so I just opened it, you know, quick check, and then and then in the evenings as well, there was sometimes I couldn't get hold of people. So it's really beneficial to have that option. And I don't just think, oh, it's just 9 to 5, I've clocked, I'm gone. You know, so it works both ways, doesn't it?
It has to. And I say this all the time. It can be a 7 o'clock in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, or it can be a 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 in the evening. It can be whatever you want. I think it's actually making sure we get the result is what I'm all about, and being able to build relationships with business owners, with clients. I mean, you're loving that. That's something that you've done naturally. So as well as talking to job seekers, you're instantly natural at talking to business owners and hiring managers and decision makers. You like that part, don't you?
Yeah, I really enjoy.
You like the ownership of that. I can tell.
And I enjoy talking to people as well, and to build up that relationship, to know that I can just pick up a phone and call them about, you know, anything. I found a great candidate. Can I just have a quick chat about them? You know, and it's just to build up that rapport and the relationship. It's brilliant. I do love that side of it.
All right, so let's pick on that word you said there, candidates, job seekers. How have you found dealing with the job seekers in general? All right, so I'm just talking about the people that we work with, because they're all very talented. Some have got different levels of motivation behind the job search. So I said to you, one of the sad things in recruitment, and I don't want you to put you off, Jodi. I said this, I don't want you to put you off, but you actually start not believing anything anyone says. And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, you'll understand." We'll revisit this in a few weeks. How have you found that? They're just dealing with people changing their mind, people not doing what they say they were going to do, people being a bit rude, being a bit offish. And I know you've done it before in a supply environment, but here in a job-seeking environment, how have you found that, Jodi? Be honest.
So I was observing a lot in my first couple of weeks at Foyne Jones, and I could see in the office.
You were observant but desperate to get involved.
Yeah, and I could see within 2 days the amount of reasons for people not turning up for interviews when they'd only just been, "You okay? You going to attend? Yeah, all ready, all set." I thought, wow, we've heard that we could write a book, you know, about this. So then that kind of helped me prepare for, okay, even if someone's applied, which I've learned last couple of weeks, that even so like someone's applied and I've responded really quickly, and then they just don't pick up, and I don't think that's recognised enough, because, you know, the recruiter's role, whether you're an internal recruiter, whether you're a specialist consultancy like us, you know, the role of the recruiter, we're human beings as well. So actually, I don't often think that doing the right thing, you know, we have to do the right thing. We have to talk to people. We have to go back with feedback. We have to be honest. We have to be open. We have to be transparent. We have to tell them the salary. And we do that. But then when we get ghosted, when people tell us they're turning up and they don't turn up, when people are damn right lying to your face, we're meant to suck it up and smile. But that affects us. We're human. And how you deal with that, the resilience you have, determines success and failure. But it's a tough gig, and I make no apologies for bringing that up, because I think that the narrative around job seeking can very much be steered around the job seeker somewhat. And you big bad employers are doing this, and you big bad recruiters are doing that. And yeah, all right, there are some examples of employers could do better. Lots of examples, and there's definitely examples of recruiters that should do better. But for the ones that are doing the right thing, let's spin that around and be treated the right way. Yeah, I'm still learning, obviously, with how people can be, but I do think I am quite resilient, and I just think, right, okay, move on to someone who does want this position, who does really want it, and I still try with those people, but I don't spend too much time dwelling on it, so it doesn't affect my mood. Or you've got to keep that momentum.
You're learning the ones that have just applied. They haven't really read the ad. They've not looked. They've just hit apply. It's come up on an alert. And I do a lot of redundancy support, as you know. And one of the things I'm saying to people is don't apply for 20 jobs.
Yeah.
Apply for one that you want. Apply for two maybe. But if you're just going at it and you're not meaning it, your chances of succeeding are right down the radar as well. We had some feedback on one of the projects you worked on brilliantly in Scotland. Out of the 3 people that were shortlisted, one had, a mysterious incident which meant, they couldn't attend. Do I believe them? No. Would I tell them that? Yes. Does it matter? No, because they didn't attend. One candidate turned up and had a very bad interview, didn't do the preparation brief, didn't perform very well. One candidate done their homework, was really well prepared, went above and beyond, and is going to, fingers crossed, get offered the job. The feedback was fantastic from the get-go. That's the difference, isn't it? You see people that want it, and you see people that don't want it. You see people that do just enough. You're never going to go away from that. You'll deal with that on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis.
And also, I think you can be surprised by the people that you think, they're great. They're going to go for it. They're going to stick to this. They're going to, don't ever just assume.
Oh man, I mean,
you never know.
I get surprised all the time. I get surprised all the time, and I think one of the great things I have is that I surround myself with good people. I surround myself with talented people, and I try and support as best I can. Yes, it can be intense. Yes, there's a focus. Yes, there has to be an output. But really, I think if we can keep our focus and keep doing the right things and keep having fun, we'll all be successful. So taking that to another level and just thinking of your previous career and the individuals you're working with now and staying on topic, which is inspiring our stars of the future. If I was applying for a job with you, if I saw a job that you were working on and it was something which I thought would be good for me, what advice would you give me to get noticed by you as a recruiter? What would you say? What could I be doing?
So I would just say be as positive as you can about not just your work experience, but what you as a person, what you like to do. Just give a bit more of a feel for what you like and who you are. Obviously, I got the job with Foyne Jones without a CV, and I feel that conversation that I have with a potential candidate can be just as important as a CV, because then I'm talking to the client about that person. So we will relay what we say. So, life experience, work experience, and be positive and aim high as well, I think. It's like you're saying, don't just apply for every job. Set your intentions, be true to yourself, what you really want. Don't just settle for a job that you're not really that fussed about. For me personally, I went for this job with Foyne Jones, and I'm really glad that I did. I honestly feel very lucky that I did, and it's
we're lucky to have you. So we appreciate that you've took the decision to change something about your life and your career, and that's not looking back negatively. That's looking forward. That's looking positively forward for you. It's easy to not do it. It's easy to think about it and change your mind, or maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next year. Those chances don't come around, and I think where you are now, you're perfectly placed. You've got a home for the medium and long-term future, and I have absolutely no doubt, Jodi, that you're going to be successful, which again I want to celebrate. And I think you've been on customer events, you've got other things going on, and later this summer you're going to be organising our first Foyne Jones Splash, which will be I think that's what I'm calling it, Charlie. I don't know. I mean, we come up with some better names, but he'll be in. Hulu will be in. He'll do the music, and we'll be doing some fundraising as well for a charity. So, Jodi, honestly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
It's been really good.
It's good fun.
And like anything, what we're trying to say to job seekers isn't it's not rip out the rule book and forget the basics. It's to do more and to think about how you treat people has an effect on everyone and how you like to be treated yourself. And that's what we look on everything. But from a podcast perspective, it's been great to get you into the studio. I think from a football perspective, Charlie really didn't want to talk about Tottenham Hotspur. He really didn't, being an Arsenal fan. I've not got.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere on the show this season. Honestly,
I've not got a lot to say too much about Fulham, other than I've seen the fixtures, and yeah, we've got some. We're away at Everton, home to Brentford, and then I think we play Man City and Arsenal. Charlie, to be fair, yeah. So it's going to be another baptism of fire. But the Premier League's not easy. Let's hope Brighton have a good season and your son's happy.
Yep.
Let's hope Tottenham have a good season. Let's hope you go and rip up the rule book for us at Foyne Jones. Hula, I'll see you in the studio next time. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. That was the end of episode 16, where you met Jodi, the newest member of Team Foyne Jones, and someone who is going to go on to be very, very successful. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I said, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out next week's episode, as we will keep inspiring our stars of the future.